dragons. They're finally here. That's right, the most anticipated addition to the Game of Thrones mod is finally here, and today we are going to break down exactly how they work, from hatching to ending them with a hatchet, from riding to razing villages to the ground. We're covering it all. We'll be breaking the guide down into sections, which will of course be timestamped in the description, so feel free to skip ahead and search for the info you need. Without further ado, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and let's begin our dance with dragons today. Bringing dragons back to the world. A key factor to know before we begin breaking down the various sections is the interactions with dragons, dragon eggs, and the creation of dragon riders will be different depending on which start date you are playing within. If dragons are already extinct, hatching dragons will be a far more arduous task and will need to develop a deep understanding of dragon lore before they can rise again. Unless you want to recreate the tragedy at Summerhall and end up a very crispy, not-so-dragon lord. You'll need a few things: an egg, some lore, some friends, also known as kindling, and some accelerant, known in the mod terms as a catalyst. The TLDR of bringing dragons back is it's all based off of an equation with a huge list of variables, of which different events and options you choose in your story leading up to the hatching will have different impacts and synergy in either helping or hindering your chances of bringing back a dragon. So choose wisely and prepare yourself accordingly. Dragon lore can be obtained by exploring places with a significant dragon history. The following locations can spawn dragon lore events: Harrenhal, the Dragon Pit, the Dragonmont, the Citadel, the Field of Fire, and Summerhall. I'm assured that in future there will be locations in Essos as well as books and items that can provide dragon lore, however those are not implemented yet. These locations are marked with will trigger dragon lore event in the tooltip, so look out for those. I'll try and update the resources section of the description if any more come to light, and as a note, Summerhall must be destroyed to trigger such an event. Anyway, different sources of dragon lore will provide different bonuses to part of the calculation surrounding the hatching ceremony. Sadly, no amount of testing nor bribery of the mod team has given me the data of just how much, but I'm sure the various texts and events will give you an idea of how much your character has learnt. Once you've grown your brain cell, however, it's time to commit to a hatching ceremony. When beginning this ceremony, you are provided with two options: a knowledge hatching or an esoteric hatching. One relying on using maesters and wise men to hatch the dragon through science, and the other utilizing faith and one's own belief to bring the dragons back to life. As far as I found out, you can only invite family and extended family to these events unless you are sat upon the Iron Throne, then the White Cloaks can come as +1s. You also have the option to set a ritual leader. The ritual leader of a knowledge ceremony is normally a maester or septon, and the leader of an esoteric ritual can be a woods witch, a pyromancer, a red priest of Rylor, a warlock, or just a simple sorcerer from Essos. Definitely no blood magic here. Once you've selected who will attend, you'll need to select your ceremonial catalyst. The options available are wooden pyre, coals, oil, wildfire, or even the power of the sun through a magnifying glass. Although note, that's for the more eccentric kings. Some locations can also be offered up as a catalyst event, such as the Dragonmont itself, or if you're located in Dragonstone, you can use lava from the volcanoes. Finally, you'll need something to sacrifice: animals, blood, or otherwise. Animal sacrifices can be either a beloved pet, a wild animal you have hunted, or an exotic animal. Blood sacrifices can come from a prisoner or someone in your court, or even yourself. You can also give some blood without directly taking a life. Remember, part of the goal when making these selections is to form a synergy to offer yourself the best chance of hatching. For example, a pyromancer from the Alchemist Guild is surely to work better with some wildfire than if you gave them a pile of wood and the skull of a deer you offed for dinner last week. Now, once you have everything selected, you've created your Georgie Patty secret dragon formula, and the ceremony can begin. Because the developers think we're cravens, they've given us the option to back out of the ceremony at any time. Also, as a tip, you can hover over the intent, hatch a dragon to see the listed modifiers you have on the ceremony. If you're familiar with the university mechanics and the percentage chances to improve your education trait, the hatching ceremony follows a similar mechanical chain. Therefore, even with all the modifiers in your favor, there's still a chance you screw up. Just pray to the Seven that you aren't following XCOM logic with your rolls. And if you've done everything right, dragons will return to the world. If you fail, there's a chance you lose the egg, body parts, loved ones, and your game. So, have fun. Creating custom dragons and dragon riders. Okay, Team Fanfiction, we're starting with you. CK3 is a sandbox, and the Goat mod is no different. So, of course, we're able to completely customize a dragon rider. The dragon rider option is a fame trait that has various levels of progress. It costs 200 trait points in the character creator. Creating a character with this trait will open a dialogue when you start the game that will allow you to choose your dragon. You are greeted with the option of a range of dragons: a young dragon, an adult dragon, an old dragon, or an ancient dragon. You are also given the option to choose a dragon egg. Ancient dragons tend to be the most powerful option here. However, if they escape due to your untimely death, things can get a little scary with them roaming free. We'll cover that later. If you select the egg option, you are given a choice of colors, or you can have a color selected for you. Eggs in the Goat mod are sorted by color families. Please note that each category listed in the egg has a percentage chance for the exact color type it will produce. The full color breakdown of which family produces each egg color is appearing on screen now, so give it a pause and read it, or we'll also link the image file as a resource in the description of this guide. If you pick a dragon, you'll be granted the option to name it as if it were recently hatched. And of course, the team have put together a fantastic list of names to choose from if your inspiration is lacking. If you'd like to change the look of your dragon, you can do so by opening the dragon customizer located in their portrait. Simply click into the dragon and go to the customizer here on the left. Feel free to spend the next 10 hours designing dragons. They'll most likely live longer than your characters anyway. Now, let's move on to raising some dragons, shall we? Dragon blood. Before we talk about dragons directly, we need to talk about you. It is important to note that not everyone is capable of interacting with dragons. If some fiery tart throws a dragon egg at you, it does not automatically make you emperor. By default, only dragon riding houses can cradle an egg. Houses such as House Targaryen or any houses that have successfully become a dragon riding house will be valid to hatch, tame, and cradle dragons. There is a dragon blood factor calculation that happens in the background. People in dragon rider houses and dragon riders automatically have 100% dragon blood. If a parent of yours is 100% dragon blood, but the other has none, you will be 50% dragon blood. But if you manage to tame a dragon, you'll become 100% dragon blooded. Dragon rider houses also affect your dragon blood modifier. Lastly, anyone with a blood connection up to 3 generations to someone with a dragon blood is also considered valid. You can check how much dragon blood you have on your taming success chance when interacting with wild dragons. You can, however, change this in the game settings if you're feeling spicy and want any Tom, Dickon, or Varys to be able to hatch dragon eggs. The key takeaway from this is not every dragon rider creates a dragon rider house. That's an option in the decisions menu, and not every member of a dragon rider house will end up a dragon rider. But let's dive into how to hatch eggs now, shall we? Hatching, cradling, and breeding dragons. So you've got a bright and colourful dragon egg. What do you do with it? Well, like Ditto in the Poke Hotel, you've got to have someone or something hold on to it. If you want your character to have the dragon, simply right-click yourself and select Cradle Dragon Egg. This is a lengthy process and can sometimes take years, but it is by far the safest way to birth a dragon. Every year, there is a growing chance that it will hatch. There is also a chance that the egg can go dud at any time. The chance of it going dud increases every year, so if you're really unlucky, your egg may become petrified in just 2 years of not hatching. These dragon eggs become little more than decoration, unless the Age of Dragons ends and you gain access to hatching ceremonies once more. Dragons can lay eggs, but of course only female dragons can lay eggs, and every year there is a random chance they will lay 1 or more eggs. However, What is important is that dragons age differently and thus have different times when they are more or less fertile. And depending on their age, you might get more or fewer dragon eggs. If your dragon lays multiple eggs, the amount is weighed randomly based on factors such as your bond with the dragon, whether they have a mate, its traits, and age. There's also clutch limits for dragons, 2 clutches as standard and 4 for fertile dragons. Dragon egg colors not only define what color the dragon birthed from might become, but also might adorn said dragon with a flavored nickname come its adulthood. As a trinket, dragon eggs provide +2 prestige per month and +10% monthly renown. You can also get family members to become dragon riders by giving them eggs to hold. You can simply right-click a character to interact with them and give them a dragon egg should you have one in your inventory. You can also hatch dragons in the dragon pit, but we will get onto that in the section titled Dragon Pits. Dragons. The basics. So you've birthed a dragon. Ouch! I jest. Let's go over the basics of dragons. Like player characters, dragons have their own unique traits which can change whilst a dragon is in its infancy. There are 7 dragon perk scales, which are broken down into general demeanor, conflict tendency, human interaction, peer dominance, combat strategy, pack versus lone wolf, and their feeding tendencies. These traits will provide different stats that adjust the dragon's attributes seen on the right of their portrait. We'll provide this image as a resource in the description. The stats of a dragon from left to right are size, which denotes how large the dragon is, its combat effectiveness, which is the draconic version of prowess, its draconic dread, which is the presence or gravitas of your dragon. The higher this number, the scarier the dragon is, and finally, its temperament, which lets you know if you can give it head pats and scritches without losing an arm or not. As well as personality traits, dragons can also have congenial traits. There are 3 levels of positive health traits: Fearsome Worm, which provides a huge health bonus and +10% size, Great Drake, which provides a massive health boost and a +20% to its size, and Tyrannic Leviathan, which provides a massive health boost and +30% size. There are also 3 levels of negative health traits: Unhealthy Worm, which gives a moderate penalty to health and a -10% to size, Malformed Drake, which provides a major penalty and a -20% size, and finally, Pitiful Wormling, which gives a severe health penalty and a -30% to size. Dragons can also be Swift, which gives a huge health bonus and +15% combat effectiveness, Majestic, which gives a small health boost and +1 rider prestige per month, and Fertile, which increases fertility by +50%, doubling your minimum egg output as it also increases the amount of clutches you can get per dragon. As a dragon rider, you will have a trait perk denoting the benefits your dragon has bestowed onto you, as well as 2 progress bars: your draconic bond and your dragon training. You can deepen your bond with your dragon through a scheme, which is accessed by interacting with your dragon. You can also gain a deeper bond through riding your dragon with the minor decision to ride them. I highly recommend having notifications on for this decision so you can do it as often as possible. Martial characters and dragon rider families with the Masters of the Sky perk can also perform aerial exercises in this event to increase their dragon training. Dragon training directly impacts the combat effectiveness of your dragon, whilst the bond affects certain events involving your dragon. Level 1 of Draconic Bond provides an additional diplomacy point. Level 2 is an additional point of learning, +5% lifestyle experience gain, and +15 vassal opinion. And level 3 provides +1 martial, +10% lifestyle experience, and +10% army movement speed. Level 1 of Dragon Training provides +15 dread, level 2 an additional 15 dread, and the final level +20 dread. This is all in addition to increasing the combat modifier of the dragon itself. Dragons themselves also affect your ability to bond with them, depending on their personality traits. Dragons can be utilized in many different event types, such as executions and trials by combat if you're an unjust, sadistic, eccentric, or a lunatic, with various event chains and options. Like normal play, a dragon's personality traits will also affect the type of events they can and will be involved with. Honestly, hats off to the devs here, the roleplay is exquisite. You may also notice the gender of your dragons is assumed and may, air quotes, change. Basically, a dragon's gender has a random chance every year to be revealed. Only female dragons can lay eggs, so it might be beneficial to make sure you keep female dragons from combat, so they don't die out again. Dragon Pits. Dragons, sadly, are a little big for your average stable, so you'll need somewhere to put them, especially for those in your court without riders. You don't want someone coming up and bonding with your family's dragon, without your say-so anyway. Introducing dragon pits and pens. Now, to build and use these, you'll need to be a dragon rider of at least king level title, or have access to a ruler's pit. Some provinces hold an existing dragon pit, such as the one located at Renier's Hill in King's Landing. Dragon pits provide security for dragons that are locked within. Characters who lack access to a dragon pit will find it difficult or even impossible to interact with the dragons that are locked within one. To send a dragon in your court to a built dragon pit, head to the courtiers list, find the dragon, click their profile, and then send them to the pit. To send eggs to the pit, you'll need to interact with the head dragon tamer. You can adjust who has access to the pit through your realm laws, and you can access the dragon pit menu on the holdings tab. Dragon keepers are a new court position whose aptitude will affect how easy it is to bond with dragons and how protected they are. They can also be used in the capturing of wild dragons, more on that later. Characters can also attempt to steal dragon eggs from dragon pits, so an able dragon keeper will help negate this. You can increase the funding of your dragon pits and keepers through a new Royal Court amenity. If you don't have the Royal Court DLC, head dragon keepers will be randomly generated and you'll have no control over them outside of the interactions. Dragon keepers also give players the ability to teach other characters dragon lore. Be warned, while safer, dragons' growth and health is stunted within a dragon pit, so as a player you'll need to weigh up the safety and control over power. However, if you do have a dragon pit and a dragon loses its rider whilst within the pit, they will of course remain in your court as an owned dragon rather than going wild. Dragon pens can be built as a standard building in a duchy's main holding. Dragon combat. Dragons have a huge effect on the warfare mechanics of Crusader Kings 3, and whilst I won't break down every aspect of battle in CK, I will take a brief moment to explain advantage, as it's the key mechanic dragons interact with. The advantage modifier is a mechanic that applies from the very beginning of combat and lasts the entire battle, and increases the damage of all troops on either side. Advantage can come from traits, terrain, building, or the martial skill of the commander. Each commander will also make a D10 roll every 3 days in an attempt to increase their advantage, and the roll can be affected by various modifiers and traits. Each point of advantage increases an army's damage by plus 2%. In the GOAT mod, however, this is raised to plus 5% according to the current dev diaries. Dragons apply a huge modifier to the advantage roll of a battle and improve the commander's advantage stat even more so if they are a dragon rider. Because the advantage stat can be so huge now, the mod has also increased the cap for advantage. Dragons will automatically join the battle of their rider unless the decision is taken not to use them in combat. Unlike what was stated in the earlier developer diaries, dragons can no longer act as knights themselves in the combat system, but their riders can become commanders or knights from the age of 14. So making Dragon Rider knights is key to applying the effect to the combat. It's good to note here, multiple dragons can be in the same army, and there is nothing stopping you from getting a plus 2,000 battle advantage with 10 godly dragons because of high captain counts. So what does this do to battles? Well, basically dragons will hit like a truck. Furthermore, dragon riders and dragons in combat can be pulled into events which drastically change battles, such as catching and eating the enemy commander. Yum! But what if dragons fight dragons in combat? Well, then you get dragon duels, a true dance of dragons. Dragon duels occur when a dragon meets a dragon in combat, in the same way knights and commander duels occur. They are an event chain that utilizes the advantage system we see in standard duels. Dueling options are weighted on the skill of the rider and the combat skill and traits of the dragon. And, like any duels, either dragon, the rider, or both can be lost. Dragon duel outcomes are weighted on a combination of rider prowess and dragon combat ability for the most part, but other skills can come into play. From the maw of the dragon leaps its most dangerous weapon, fire, which you as a player can utilize heavily in campaigns. Dragons are powerful weapons in sieges. Located next to the assault button on a siege, you have a dragon button when there's a dragon in the army. With it, an event will fire, allowing you to decide how to utilize your dragon in the active siege. The amount of options will increase the larger and older your dragon gets, eventually gaining the ability to completely destroy holdings, turning them to ruins. Utilizing dragons in this way is risky though, as you put your dragon closer to enemy defenses, leading to a higher chance of your dragon picking up wounds or even dying. The levels of destruction are as follows: minor draconic siege destruction, providing -4 to the fort level; moderate draconic siege destruction, providing -7; no mercy, which can give extreme destruction depending on the size of your dragon, which is -16 fort level, also burns people within the holding; or naught shall be left but ash and ruin, which gives locations the Harrenhal treatment. Finally, you can also send your dragon on terror campaigns, utilizing the major decisions menu. This will, of course, anger anyone and everyone around you, but boy oh boy are they effective. The way that terror campaigns work is they apply a massive debuff to provinces your army moves through. This debuff scales the longer the army remains in a location, over 10 escalating levels of destruction. The higher the level of destruction, the longer it will take for the county to recover. You can also tell Dragon Rider vassals to conduct terror campaigns for you. Wild dragons and hunting dragons. If you go down to the woods today and you see a dragon, run. Wild dragons are no joke. They will roam freely, untamed and unclaimed by any ruler living in their natural state. They will, however, also create lairs for themselves in a holding. They cannot be used for combat or travel, and they impose a risk to anyone within hunting range. If you are a ruler with a dragon pit, you can attempt to capture a wild dragon to make it an owned one, in theory. However, the wild dragon needs to wander close enough to the dragon pit for you to capture it. You can only build one dragon pit, so sadly, it's very RNG based. To find wild dragons, simply use the character finder under C to search for the dragon trait, or use the Manage Realm Affairs decision and choose dragons. Hovering over the dragon's portrait will tell you if it's tamed, wild, or owned, or if you're using the decision, it breaks them down into their categories. I'm praying for a legendary dragon trapping hunt that dragon riders can do in the future here, but right now, this is how this mechanic interacts. Slaying wild dragons, however, is not so restrictive. However, there is an element of range to it. From what I can gather, to slay a dragon, you must be in the same realm as it. This action is very dangerous. When attempting to slay a dragon, you will get a breakdown of possible outcomes split into percentages between finding the dragon and its lair, not finding the dragon, and becoming the prey yourself with the dragon finding you. If you find the lair of the dragon itself, an event chain will start, relying on your character stats and knowledge to plan your attack. Failure here can cause death even before you get into the duel phase. Success can increase your advantage for the coming battle by weakening the dragon in some way. Following the planning comes the hardest part, the duel itself. If you've survived this long, congratulations, but you're far from out of the woods. Now begins the duel. Dragon duels work slightly different to character duels to establish the high threat level. You will need to balance risk, defense, and offense with every action carrying a high risk of wounding or death. Only the strongest champions will survive, and from my testing, very little skill will prepare you to live this encounter. However, success will be determined on a combination of if you've slayed a dragon before, i.e. the Dragon Slayer trait providing a factor of 1.5 onto the calculation, how much dragon lore you have before the battle, specifically from the Citadel, giving an extra factor of between 1.1 and 1.2, and your prowess. Furthermore, if you have a high intrigue, you can actually poison your blade before attacking, increasing your chances. If you do succeed, you'll gain the Dragon Slayer perk, which provides you with +2 prowess, plus 0.25 prestige per month, plus 5% dread gain, and plus 15 general opinion, as well as the dragon's head as a court artifact. There is one other way of hunting dragons, and that is while they're in combat through anti-dragon warfare. Anti-dragon warfare is a cultural innovation that allows the construction of scorpion emplacements in provinces. These emplacements offer a small garrison, a -2 to danger in the province, and plus 5% dragon damage to battles happening in this holding at level 1, and at level 2 they provide +1 fort level, -2 danger, an extra plus 5% damage for archer men-at-arms stationed here. It raises the anti-dragon damage to plus 10%, has increased levy, garrison, and also provides a bonus to siege equipment stationed here. Whilst this may be small, any amount of damage you can do to dragons and their riders extra in a combat might just save your life. Draconic Dynasty and Bloodline. If you are a dragon rider and your dynasty has 5 or more living members who are dragon riders, you can take to the skies and become a dragon rider house. For created characters, this is necessary to unlock the Dragon Lord dynastic legacy. The renown unlock for Dragon Lords are as follows. Cradle to the Grave. Dynasty members are more likely to be able to influence the personality of a bonded cradled dragon and receive boosts to taming and bonding cradled dragons. Bonded Blood, which provides bonding scheme success chance of plus 20%, and Dynasty members receive increased experience for successful deepening bond scheme. No whips, just words. Dynasty members are less likely to be wounded or killed in a failed dragon taming attempt. Masters of the Skies. Dynasty members receive increased training experience and unlock the ability to practice combat during Ride Dragon Decision regardless of their education. Closer to Gods. Legitimacy gain plus 20% and unlock unlimited use of the Draconic Subjugation Casus Belli. Becoming a Dragon Rider also gives you access to the Draconic Subjugation Casus Belli. This can be used at a county, duchy, or kingdom level, allowing you to either take the titles or, with the subjugation variant of the CB, subjugate regions less than you so they become your vassal. They work like the Holy War CB. Artifacts. There are of course many unique artifacts within the mod, but only a few connect as directly to the Dragon update. The Dragon Horn is an illustrious trinket that can be found by adventurers sent on expeditions. They must have the adventurer trait for this. As a trinket, it provides plus 20 dread and plus 1 prestige. However, it holds a unique interaction with the taming of wild dragons. It can be used as an extreme catalyst and will make taming a dragon almost a certainty. Of course, if you slay a dragon, you can take their skull as a court artifact, which will provide plus 1 prestige per month, plus 5% monthly renown, and plus 10 natural dread for each skull you mount on your wall. There are most definitely more artifacts involved with this version of the mod, but I need to do a whole new artifacts video considering how out of date my Valyrian Steel guide is, so I wanted to cover the key ones I think you might come across. Destined dragons and other secrets. Okay, here's the bit you wanted. Here's all the secrets that I found thus far with the new build. Much like the Child of Destiny event chain, of course there are destined dragons. From what can be gathered, it is this event seed that brings lore-accurate dragons such as Daenerys' boys back to life, but also can occur surrounding some other pinnacle moments where dragons could have occurred, such as the not-so-tragedy at Summerhall, or if Meleys the Monstrous is successful in his attempt to bring back dragons. If you succeed at Summerhall, for example, my testing saw the birth of 2 dragons, Gridron and Solthis, who gained the Destined trait. This provides a medium health boost to the dragons, and in their first year, they will grow 10 times faster. I also came across another secret. There are special dragon-based events that affect the world around you, such as the Dragon Cult, that can occur if a wild dragon shares the same county as a peasant revolt. Basically, it's a peasant revolt, but their leader is a dragon rider. Capture the leader and you've got a free dragon rider, wink wink. And with that, our work here today is done. If you want to conquer the world, you best have a dragon, and we hope we've given you the tools that you'll need to master these mythical beasts. Of course, we'll be back with more guides in the future, including an update to our Every Building in Westeros series, and I think we're going to have to take a deeper dive into artifacts. Remember to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and you've been watching Midgeman. And if you've made it to the end, leave a comment down below and tell me what you will name your dragon when you get your hands on this excellent update for the Game of Thrones mod.